have such sights to show you.
Hi, everybody. I'm the drunk kitten Tribbles. Hey, welcome to Ultimate Radio. Please like and subscribe, and I hope you all brought some beers.
Well, the age-old question. Who did you like better as a singer for Van Halen? David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar? Well, unfortunately, we're not going to get into that question today. I'm the High Command, and I'm here with the drunk kitten Tribbles, and we're going in an entirely different direction.
Hey, boss. Hey, I sure hope those worm dudes brought us some beers. Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting show today.
Today we're going to feature a song from Van Halen's debut album. The song's called I'm the One, and it was, I guess it's what you would call a deep cut. The whole idea behind the show today is to show why Van Halen's earlier works were much better than their later works. And I realize a lot of this is subjective to people's personal opinions, so if you have a different opinion, please just put it down in the comments and, let me know where I'm wrong or where you agree.
Hey, boss. Yeah, this was one of the best-selling debut albums of all time, having sold over 10 million copies.
I've never been a huge fan of David Lee Roth. I've always felt he was more of a screamer than a singer, but he definitely fit with the band's persona for sure. Also, on this album, most songs are easily recognizable if you hear them on the radio. Whereas, like after their second album and further on, until Hagar joined the band, maybe one or two hits you'd recognize from an album, and the rest just, to me, seemed to be filler.
Right, boss. Yeah, they seem to have a lot more passion and grit in their early albums. I just felt later albums were overproduced and way too commercial.
Yes, indeed, Kitten. I've seen the same thing with Queen, Jethro Tull, and even Led Zeppelin. I felt, the last 3 or 4 Zeppelin albums were just subpar. That's my own personal feeling, but I just felt they lost the energy that they had in the beginning.
Yeah, it's really sad, boss. Yeah, Zeppelin's Kashmir just bored me to death. And even Tull, after like Heavy Horses, it's just, everything just became forgettable.
It's sad when you think of, down the road when they did the Diver Down album, that the 3 hit songs on that album were all covers. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get into this one. and sneak in a little obligatory break here.
Yeah, boss. Did you know the Van Halen brothers formed their first band in 1964? And if you add Sammy into this, they've sold over 80 million records worldwide.
Yeah, the band was actually from Pasadena, California, and in their earlier days before they became Van Halen, they were known as Mammoth. There's a place in Long Beach, or rather there was a place in Long Beach in the 70s where most garage bands actually got a chance to play in front of a lot of people, a place called Marina Palace. And Mammoth played there, along with the first band I managed in the early 70s before I even started to play. A band called Red Mountain played there. It was an interesting place, and maybe someday I'll tell you some stories from Marina Palace.
Yeah, going back to what you said earlier, boss. Yeah, David Lee Roth does seem like more of a screamer than a singer. I think that's one place where Sammy actually had it over him, because Sammy could be a much better singer. Of course, Sammy could be a screamer too if he wanted to.
Okay, I'm the One, which is a pretty darn good song in my opinion, but then again, you know, they had several on here. I know they had some covers, but most of the original stuff was really, really good. And I noticed that too after all the years, you know, when they did their reunion and David Lee Roth came back to them for one album. It just seemed to me that album almost captured the original spirit of the band with the song like Me Wise Magic. That just to me seemed like Van Halen.
Alright. Bada shooby doo wah. Beer bada shooby dooby dooby doo wah. Man, I always liked that part of the song.
Alright, folks, yeah. Everybody's going to have a differing opinion. Some are going to like the Sammy Hagar version, some are going to like the Roth version, so it's more or less a personal opinion anyway. Hey, if you like these shows, please hit subscribe. In the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't make a lot of difference, but it just kind of gives me a little bit of yay factor. I've actually got some people watching these things. You know, being retired, you can only watch so many cooking shows or so many audit videos. I don't have any grass to mow, so, you know, I can't do that. But hey, I'm going to grab that drunk kitten. We're going to see if we can find us some beers. And we'll see you on the next video.